first time, thank you so much for joining us. For everyone that's coming back, hope you will enjoy the second webinar as much as you did as the first. So I'm the sales manager for RTO Works, and today's session will be hosted with Leonie and Sally. The webinar series is meant to be interactive and involved, as everyone would know who attended the first webinar. So any questions, please feel free to just pop them in the chat. Leonie and Sally will answer as we go. And we are going to have polls that will be popping up as well, and we are going to have different breakout sessions throughout this webinar. It will be a little bit more well run, we hope, than the technical difficulties we had on the first one. We've nutted out a few of those things, so thanks for your patience on the first webinar. Yeah, so we hope you enjoy. Please participate. This is for all of us to share and understand where your struggles are, and yeah, for Sally and Leonie to be able to advise where we can. So with your input, we can't do that. So without further ado, I will hand over to the wonderful Leonie and Sally.
Thank you, Milo.
Thanks, Milo. Go ahead, Sally.
Yes, so hello everybody. Hope you're well, and thanks for coming today. So it's Leonie and myself again, and this session we're going to mostly focus on assessment review, which is a new thing in the standards, and we'll also talk about TASs. And just for those who don't know me, obviously my name's Sally Tansley. Been in the sector quite a long time. Since 1995, when I started writing training packages, and then I was an auditor for a while, and yeah, set up this consultancy some years ago. So that's me. Leonie?
Hi everyone, I am Leonie Barker. I work as an RTO consultant here at RTO Works, also known as the Audit Alchemist. I've been working in education regulation since around 2006, so almost 20 years now, and especially working in RTOs in compliance management roles. So have lots of experience in and what a lot of you will be experiencing every day, and I love to bring that business focus to sessions like this. So hopefully between Sally and I, you'll get the absolute best of both worlds with that incredible legislative compliance mind that Sally has, and the practical business side as well.
Thank you, Leonie. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, okay then. So let's start then. So what are we looking at today? We're looking at aligning your TAS with the revised standards. We're looking at the importance of assessment review. That's, you know, prior to using assessment tools. We're going to look at an actual tool that you could use to do that. And also, you know, like Milo said as well, it's going to be pretty interactive. So we're going to put you in breakout rooms too.
Great. And we'll also have time, as Milo said, for questions at the end. So we're going to have a poll question pop up now, and that question is, have you changed your TAS template or approach in line with the revised standards for RTOs? Something I wanted to mention this time, because we had so much interest last time, is our RTO support packs. That should be popping up on the screen for you now, just where you can go. A few people did ask us, where can we find that on the website? You basically go to the RTO Works website, click on our shop, and then you'll be directed to the RTO support packs. Obviously, you want to go to the one that is for the revised standards that's suitable for your RTO. You can see we've got a whole range there. We've got the CRICOS ones, we've got the ELICOS ones. You can select the one that's right for your RTO.
Okay, great.
Yeah, but we want to talk about first up the TAS. So as we mentioned in the last webinar, it could be a TAS by any other name, but basically it's your guide to training and assessment, which you'll need for all of your training products, as you always have done. But you may call it something different, and ASQA certainly won't mind according to everything we've heard so far. But I wanted to start by asking you, Sally, with your incredible experience in this sector, What do you see RTOs struggling with when it comes to TAS compliance? And can you give us some examples of the things that you do see?
I think probably one of the most important things, and we have been talking about that a bit this week, haven't we, about that whole thing around keeping it simple. So sometimes I see a lot of training and assessment strategies that, go on and on and on and on, and with a whole lot of superfluous things in there that really don't need to be in there, because at the end of the day, it needs to set out, who the training and assessment is aimed at. What are the entry requirements? What are the units that you're going to deliver? What the schedule is, and also, the timing that would be allocated to training and assessment. So, and often, you'll see things in TASs, like one example I can think of is that when the TAS is done, there's industry consultations sections kept in, and it says the names of the people and when the industry consultation was done and so on. And of course, that information becomes outdated. And I think there's a tendency to just do the industry consultation at the beginning of the development of the TAS, and really it should be ongoing. So I wouldn't put things like that in my TAS. I would just put some generic statements that say that you do industry consultation and that you record it in a register, and then you don't have to worry. And so it's that consistency, making sure there's consistency between documents. So they're just a couple of examples. I mean, you could go on and on and on, couldn't you?
Yeah, I know, Sally, and we'll keep it fairly brief today. But yeah, definitely something you and I talked about earlier this week is when you see things included in a TAS, like your trainer details, things like that, which can change all the time, and you can just have a line in your TAS saying, this information can be provided here, or is, provide a link to where you can find that information, because there's a lot of systems. You might have an SMS that captures that information beautifully, and you can just direct people under your TAS to that SMS where your trainer details are saved. And that helps to cut down on that length and it being an unwieldy document.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, yeah. One thing interesting though is actually, and that sort of brings us on to that next slide as well, thinking about the ways that you need to change your TAS in terms of the revised standards, is that one of the new standards talks about demonstrating you've got sufficient staff. So you don't need to put the trainer names into the TAS like you just said, Leonie, but it could be a good idea to put down in your TAS your ratios. So say you're doing 1 to 25 and providing a justification for why that's sufficient. So yeah, not the trainer names, but helping you to demonstrate how you demonstrate that you do have sufficient staff. So the TAS could be a good place for that with the trainers. And I mean, again, that could change, and so that would be something you would need to update. But for me, I feel that sits quite well in a TAS.
Yeah, great.
So,
and
yes.
with this one, Sally, so under the revised standards, if you're looking at a TAS now under the revised standards, what are the key things that you'd look for straight away to see, has that TAS been aligned with the revised standards?
Yes, so I would look that the first thing I would look is, has the reference to the amount of training been removed? Yay, we've got rid of the amount of training. But of course, it's been replaced with something quite general, talking about the RTO demonstrates that there's sufficient time, for instruction, etc., before assessment. So we've got something that's, pretty broad there. And I am really looking forward to seeing how all this type of thing is interpreted. But essentially, so the amount of training references should be removed in the TAS, but also you would have a section in your TAS that talks about justifying your duration. So, for example, you might put justifications such as industry, wants, thinks that time frame is appropriate. we're always sort of struggling with these balances between what industry wants and you know, previously things like amount of training where industry wants people sort of trained, you know, quite quickly, but then there's that balance between you know, how quickly it should really be done. Another good way of supporting durations is, of course, actually having session plans that show that you can achieve the training and assessment in that time. So those supporting documents would be referred to in the TAS. And I think another big thing when you look at the training and assessment quality area and references to training activities. So I'm kind of now adding into my TASs justifications about why I believe that mode is relevant to the cohort, and I'm also adding in the training techniques that I'm using, and again justifying why I think these are appropriate. So it's things that, you know, like role plays as a training technique because, you know, it's practical and it's engaging and all that kind of thing. So they're really the sort of just a real snapshot of the quick areas and the changes that we've made to our template based on the revised standards.
Now that's a great insight, Sally. Thank you. Okay. Right, so the next big one is what Sally just mentioned earlier, which is what we're calling the assessment review, the quality. It's a quality review of your assessment, and that's the one we're using before the assessment is in use, which is very critical under the revised standards. What are some of the reasons that you see this document as being so critical, Sally?
You mean the assessment review document?
Yeah, the assessment quality review document.
Well, I think previously under the standards for RTOs, obviously there wasn't a mention of assessment review before use. Some of you call it pre-validation. I think the whole kind of pre-validation, validation, moderation terms have got very mixed up over the years. But it wasn't there in the previous standards, but I feel that it always has been best practice. So it's something that you know is good, would have been good to do anyway. So basically, it's a way of you checking that your assessments obviously meet the requirements of the unit. So you're going through, you know, is the performance criteria addressed, etc., etc. But it's, and also principles of assessment and rules of evidence, which obviously have been slightly changed in the new standards for reasons unknown. But you know, like, is good thinking about, you know, is the level right for the students? Are the instructions clear enough? And they link back to things like you know, fairness, that type of thing. So yeah, it's good to have a structured tool to work through, and it's also again evidence that you've done it.
Yeah, great. And I can see on the poll there, I think 65% of people have in the last 3 months validated, or we won't use that word, but they've done a quality review of their assessment before it's in use, which is really great. It is obviously something that most RTOs are doing, but yeah, under the new standards, definitely something to focus on.
And what I would suggest there is that you you know, you really you know, you don't just tick, you just add comments to show that you really have looked at it. And also, if you do make changes, then you obviously enter that into your continuous improvement register.
Yeah, great. And Sally, I'll just get you to go over what a good assessment review tool should include.
Yeah,
so not a great one, but
yeah, so I mean, we've sent you out one, of course. Hopefully everyone got that. And we did update this for the revised standards as well, based on new definitions of the principles of assessment and rules of evidence. But essentially, what you want your assessment review tool to look like is it you know, breaks down the parts of the units of competency, like the has the application of the unit been taken into account, are the performance criteria met, and so on. But it also, again, tracking back to what I just said, looks at things like fairness, reliability, and so on. So are the benchmarks clear? It's obviously when you get to actual validation, you'll start to know that more, because you'll see how assessors have interpreted that. Are the instructions to students clear and sufficient? Same for assessors. Is there clear guidance on how to record and evaluate performance across multiple attempts or assessment events? So yeah, those types of things. So yeah, looking at unit requirements and focusing on principles of assessment and rules of evidence.
Right.
Okay, Leonie, and you've just put them.
Yeah, so I think Auburn, I think Auburn's put the documents in chat. For anyone who hasn't downloaded them already, in a few minutes' time, you're going to need these for the breakout rooms, where you'll be doing a practical exercise to test this out. So that would be great. So yeah, basically these three elements are what sums up the key elements of an assessment review that you're using before your assessment is in use. And they are covered in that tool.
That's it. And I think something really interesting there as well is, you know, how you actually do that assessment review, what process you use in your RTO. So there's lots of different ways of doing it. I think first and foremost, it does need to be done by experienced people, and so you do need someone who's got a good understanding of assessment design to do that. And so about finding someone in your organization who can do that. But also it's equally okay to get that done by externals as well. So it's about you and your RTO determining how you're going to do that. And you might even do a mixture of that. You might do some internally and some externally. And just make sure, again, in your policies and procedures that you say how you're going to do that assessment review and what evidence you're going to keep and how you're going to action it.
Absolutely. And we've had an influx of those reviews coming into RTO Works, and it's been great. It's excellent to see people are getting on the front foot. If they haven't been doing it up till now, they're putting it as a priority.
And planning is key as well. So something I'm working on with a number of clients is actually planning for the next, you know, for the upcoming year at least, on which assessments are going to be reviewed, which will be obviously linked to your delivery schedules as well.
Yeah, great. And we've got another poll question, and that is, do you currently use a pre-assessment review tool before implementing an assessment with learners? Okay, so I'm going to pop that assessment review tool up on the screen for a moment. So you should all have this, or have downloaded it from the chat, or have got it from your emails. You're going to need it along with the other documents to participate in the breakout rooms. Yeah, basically the tool, it's very simple, easy to follow. It gives you prompts. It basically prompts you on how to look at your assessment, what eyes to look at it through, and you can tick the box yes or no and make your comments. It's very simple to use. And I can see there that, yes, most people do have a standardized tool already. I'm sure many of you do have the one from the RTO Works support pack. If you don't, I strongly recommend you look at purchasing our RTO support, one of our RTO support packs. It will save you many hours and many dollars in the end. I'm just going to go back to my slides there. Okay, and in a moment, we're going to get a chance to use that tool. Okay, so Sally, do you want to give a brief overview of how you use this tool when you're doing one of these assessments for a client? How would you approach it? I guess we've had some really great insight over the past few weeks.
We did.
But there's different ways you can approach the tool.
I think with an assessment review, sampling of the knowledge questions is a good idea. You don't necessarily have to go through every single one. I mean, of course, you have to look for gaps, but in terms of the questions, the knowledge questions, in terms of, yeah, you know, are they clear? Are the benchmarks clear? I would just do a sample in that respect, because, you know, doing this assessment review work is pretty time consuming, and so we kind of typically allocate, you know, 2 or 3 hours a unit, and you know, obviously with so many to get through, and the need to do it well, you really do have to look at timing. So sampling is something that's really important. And also, if you've got assessment tools from, say, the same resource provider, or the same person's written them internally, once you've done one complete review, you'll also find that it's easier when you're looking at the others. You'll start to see the gaps in all of them. So, for example, if the practical, you know, say if it's a practical observation, and you know, it's not very clear how it's going to be done, and it's got gaps, you'll start to see that in other assessment tools. So it definitely, perhaps, you know, spend longer on the first ones, and you'll see probably that it gets easier. That's my experience anyway.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Okay, so we are about to put you into the breakout room activity. It's our first ever breakout room. So what you're going to do is you're going to receive a mock assessment. You've got a mock assessment and a mock mapping document. And we've intentionally made a lot of mistakes in there that we have, you know, I've certainly personally seen in many cases of what the type of errors we do see in assessment. It's a chance for you to work together in small breakout groups to just, you know, take a note of what you observe. Very important will be to nominate, as soon as you go into the room, nominate someone as a spokesperson. Either someone nominates himself or the group nominates someone as a spokesperson, because at the end we will, when we call you back, we will pick some groups at random and ask the spokesperson from that group to share with us some of the things they found. Don't be scared. If we can do it, so can you. So we'd love to hear from you, and you know, things about how the tool worked, what you've liked about it, what you might not like about it, and yeah, what type of errors you did spot. It's meant to be very lighthearted. We don't expect you to do the whole thing. It's just a chance to have a taster of how this works.
And also, we haven't the tool that you're going to look at is just focused on knowledge. So there'll be some parts of the assessment review checklist that don't apply, like the performance criteria and the performance evidence. It's just really the knowledge evidence.
Absolutely.
With such a short amount of time, we wanted to, you know, give you the chance to have a practical activity, but it can only be pretty short. So yeah, like Leonie says, don't be shy.
Yeah. Okay, so Orban, are you able to pop everyone into their breakout rooms? You should be automatically put in, and you'll automatically come out after 10 minutes and come back into here. So you don't need to worry about coming back in. It might just take a couple of minutes, because depending on how many people we have attending, Orban will be putting them into their rooms.
Leonie.
Yep.
Hi. Just letting you know I set it up so that they'll automatically close after 10 minutes. And the
So I don't have to
participants,
click anything.
no, the
I was
participants,
able to assign people with you as well.
oh, that's great. Thank you. And the participants will get, so they'll close after 10 minutes and then they'll get a 30-second warning and then they'll all be brought back in automatically.
Okay, so we'll just give them 30 seconds to get back in. Is that what we should do?
Yeah. So we've got 2.5 minutes now.
Mhm.
I'm going to incognito myself again. This is going really well. Well done.
It's great.
Yeah.
Hello, we're back.
Welcome back, everybody.
I was just briefly cut off on something I was talking about with Alex. So Alex, just we can email or phone about that.
So it'll take a few more seconds for everyone to come back in, but welcome back, everyone. It was great to see when you're in the breakout rooms, what we can see is everyone who's taken their videos and put them on, everyone who's chatting, everyone who's unmuted themselves. So I could see there was amazing discussions going on in there, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what you talked about. And I've picked a few groups at random. And the first one up I've got is group number 3. If you could, if your spokesperson could unmute and share with us what you spoke about, that would be fantastic.
I think that was us. Essentially, we spoke about how the instructions for the assessment weren't specifically really clear for the student of what the outcome would be, what adjustments could be made if they're needing those adjustments. The questions really directed to one particular element. So there could be a question around, is there a large amount of over-assessment on 2.2? Also, the alignment and the assessment wasn't really clear. So it went from question 1 to question 4, and question 2 was embedded much further down. So the flow and leading into potentially giving confusion and not being particularly clear for the student and for the trainer, because not all questions have been given responses or recommended responses.
Yeah, great.
That's probably.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. Yes, they were all definitely major issues in that assessment. So well done to you and your group. And the next group, if you can get your spokesperson for group number 9.
Oh, that's me.
Who was your spokesperson, Sally? Don't tell me they nominated you.
Yeah.
We had problems getting in, and a lot of us, even in the messages, are saying that we couldn't get in. I actually had to close up and get back in. So there was a lot of problems joining room 9.
Sorry about that. Because of that, and that's obviously why you know, not many people sort of seem to show up or speak. So we actually just Dara and I and Alex joined after a while. We just talked through the assessment review tool and what we'd be, you know, looking for. So just as an example, with the first question, has the application of the unit been taken into consideration? What you'd be looking for there. So say it's a community services unit, you would sort of expect the assessment to consist of, say, knowledge questions to address the knowledge evidence and some kind of practical observation. So if it looks like that, then that's great. But if, say, it was, you know, just knowledge questions and then all just kind of written case studies, you would be thinking, oh, well, that's not right. Yeah, so we just sort of went through the checklist in terms of how you use it. And I was saying as well that, you know, yeah, this is new for some people. So, you know, maybe you could even do it as a group or even do it separately and then compare notes so you get some practice. You could ask an expert to come in and do a training session for you. Yeah, they were the sort of general things we talked about.
Absolutely. And, you know, if anyone wasn't able to join their group, I mean, I could certainly see lots of groups were functioning really well. I'm not sure what happened for you. We'll certainly investigate. But you can do this exercise on your own if you can find even just 10 minutes just to start getting familiar with it. Sometimes it's just a case of just getting used to a new process. And once you've had a look at it, it suddenly all makes sense and it makes it easy to use. I'd love to hear from one more group, to hear from some more of our participants. I think the last group I've got written down is group 27. Group 27, do you have a spokesperson at all? Or do I have to pick another group? Okay, what about group 19?
Leonie, that was my group and I was nominated as the spokesperson, although I did try to convince some of the other group members.
Yes.
But I'm happy to speak on our findings. What we reviewed is the benchmark answers. There's a lot of inconsistency. For example, quite a common mistake that I find when doing a job like this is lists at least 2 ways a burn can be treated, and the answer is just, you know, one has been listed. The same as question 21, name one type of fracture, suggested answer, green stick fracture. So in this case, we would, the way RTO Works designs and develops assessment tools, we would say the student must list at least one type of fracture, which could be from the following list, and list, you know, if there are not many types of fractures, you would list all of the fractures. If there are only if there are many fractures, I have no idea, I'm not a doctor, but if there were like 40 different fractures you could have, then you would say from the following list or other suitable fracture as determined by the assessor. So very clear, unclear and inconsistent benchmark answers, which immediately gives red flags.
Yeah, absolutely.
Suitable.
I see that all the time, and I find that the wording at least is really problematic, because what you can find is you've got you know, some students who list 10 answers and some students who list 3 and some students who list 2, and then the trainer's left confused about, oh, but the person who did 10 answers got 1 right or 2 right. Do I mark them correct or do I mark them incorrect because the other 8 were wrong? And it can lead to a whole bunch of confusion. But definitely also, you know, making sure you give the parameters, that it doesn't have to be only these answers, but it needs to be something consistent with those answers. They're the kinds of things I see in knowledge questions all the time. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. And we hope to use breakout rooms again in the future. So we'll certainly investigate what happened for some of you. But when I was looking at the groups, I could definitely see that it looked like most groups were interacting. They had their video cameras on, which was fantastic. And there was a lot of mics on too. So we'll do a bit more investigation on that one. Okay, so wrapping up today, we have looked at the revising your TAS against the new standards. We've looked at that pre-assessment review, and you've all had a chance to have a bit of a look at that and become very familiar with it. Some of you already would have been, but it's yeah, a great chance to put that to use. You understand how to map your assessment to that, you know, to the requirements. And a very important step, we probably haven't covered a lot here, but we will certainly in another webinar down the track, is that continuous improvement cycle. So anything you find in that review, you want to make sure you are making the changes required, and then also very, very importantly, documenting that on your continuous improvement checklist. That is vital. It always has been, and under the new standards, it continues to be.
Thank you, Leonie. As Leonie says, I've got to say, it's all about keeping that compliance engine running smoothly.
Oh, you're a good sport, Sally. Okay, so thanks Milo. You take
Thanks, Leonie. Thanks, Sally. Thanks, Leonie. So yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone. I think that's the end of our session now. So it's the official end to the webinar. If anyone does want to stay on for a bit longer, we are happy to stay on for some questions and answers, some Q&A. Please do note that this is the final webinar that is complimentary, that is free. The remaining 4 webinars in the series are $40 per webinar, or the full series for $100. So you are welcome to contact us directly and to register for the whole lot, or you can just register directly for each webinar moving forward.
It's a great
we will
part.
also, yeah, and we'll also be sending through a follow-up email with today's recording, as well as some of those documents that Leonie shared earlier. Sorry, Leonie, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying, it's a bargain, Milo. Just that tool alone is worth a lot more than $40, and everyone got it here today for free.
Are you saying there's going to be more goodies in store,
there will
Leonie?
be more goodies. Of course,
and they have to come and join us to find out?
Exactly. And we, you know, obviously with that RTO support pack I showed you all earlier, that includes all the templates, all the policies and procedures you need to be compliant with the revised standards for RTOs. It is a huge money and time saver if you do not have something like that already. It gives you that confidence that you'll go forward, and you're going to go forward in a compliant way if you use those documents. And we'd love to get questions now. We've got some time for questions here. If you do have to go, thank you so much for joining us. We love doing this and getting a chance to connect with you all this way. So yeah, you can pop questions in the chat, or you can unmute and give us your questions verbally. Go for it.
And one of the questions, Leonie, that we can answer is certificate of participation. Yes, there will be certificates of participation sent to everyone post-session.
Yeah.
Hi, Leonie. My name is Mohammed. I have a question.
Go for it.
Okay. So I've been using RTO Works assessment since 2012, and I have no problem whatsoever in any audits, in hundreds of audits we have attended, including some audits with Sally. Now, my question is about regarding the checklist. Sorry, I'm not looking at it. I'm looking at the checklist, the assessment review tool. Now, the question here is yes, no, not applicable, and comments. And as Sally mentioned, this is that we do have to make comments. Now, I find the assessment tool compliant. Let's say I find it compliant, and I just tick yes, 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 and I sign it, and with the team signs it. Now, what is your comment on this? That can we just tick, or we should have some comments? Okay, the assessment tool found, okay, has the application of the unit been taken into consideration? We say yes, and then what comment would satisfy the auditor or you, Sally?
Thank you, Mohammed, and thank you for all your kind words about RTO Works. So yeah, I mean, I've done these reviews where I've been in the same position as you and found them to be compliant. So say for example, the question, has the application of the unit been taken into consideration? So obviously tick yes, and then I would make a sort of a standard comment like yes, the unit, the assessment includes knowledge questions that assess the knowledge evidence and a practical observation that is very suitable for the nature of the unit. And you can sort of almost have like stock standard statements in there. I mean, I would change the words a little bit around, but you could have a sort of stock standard statements that you add in there. Are the performance criteria met, for example? You could say something, you know, all performance criteria were carefully checked and it was found that all were addressed. Things like that. So kind of, yeah, it's a bit arduous, but I just feel like you've just got such a much better chance of showing that it's an authentic process if you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say, Sally, imagine if you commissioned RTO Works to do a review for you and we sent you back a checklist that just had things ticked off. You probably wouldn't be too happy with that. And most likely neither will an auditor. So it's best to make, to write down the rationale of why you've come to that decision. And especially important when you find a non-compliance, to explain exactly what that is. But even if it is compliant, explaining how it is compliant is also very helpful, because then it shows that it's actually been done and not just been a tick and flick, which is not going to be useful to anyone.
Mohammed, can I just also mention that while everybody's doing their quality reviews as well, if you ever find something that's not quite right in one of our tools, that's, we love feedback and we always want everybody to send feedback to us if they find something that might not quite be right. So that's another opportunity for you to let us know, and we can fix resources and we can re-upload them to our shop, and everybody gets a notification that we've picked up something, we've made a change, and everybody gets the revised tools in the shop. So that's a quality improvement thing for you, for us as a provider to you guys in the industry, and just another quality, what's it called? Check to make sure that when you do go to audit, you're audit ready.
Okay.
I
have a couple more questions. Sorry.
Yeah. I've got the same issue as you, Mohammed. That's why I was just going to bring it up. I've been using RTO Works assessments since I began, and Sally's been wonderful. But I've got the same issue as you. I use your assessments; they're fantastic. However, and I know it's not your fault, some of them, because we do construction, are out of date due to the Department of Education mapping, aren't meeting the standards of the Australian standards.
Yeah.
So in that situation, how do we do the checklist?
Yeah. So what I would do there is what Alex is talking about is the National Construction Code has been updated, and unfortunately the units don't reflect that. So I would make a note in my my mapping, and I would say the unit refers to the old construction code. However, as it has been updated, our assessments reflect the updated code. So I would, yeah, so then it's like up front and there, and you know, no auditor's going to argue with that. And that is the problem, of course, and what we're seeing more and more with you know, training packages and units just getting outdated really quickly.
Yeah, Alex, we had the same issue with an accounting unit where it was talking about doing a rollover, like cloud-based accounting. You don't roll over financial years anymore, like when you used to download it. So anything like that is a really good opportunity to document that on that tool, so that when if an auditor does not understand accounting or building and construction and says non-compliant because of XYZ, you've got your argument there ready to go.
Yeah. So Mohammed, you said you got a couple more questions.
Yes, another question regarding the TAS. I have recently attended the ESCO seminar or the workshop, and they said, oh, you don't have to have the TAS, but it can be a combination of the documents. But yeah, we, as all the RTO practitioners, I think we will have TAS. My question is, at the end of the TAS, we add the delivery schedule. And as we all know that we have to have the TAS for different cohorts. Now, for example, we have a delivery schedule for one cohort, and which is in our generic TAS, what we have. But what I was thinking that can we just keep it as a separate document, like the trainer file and the validation document? Can we say, okay, please see the schedule? Yeah.
Yeah, you can, and I think you always have been able to do that, Mohammed. It's just yeah, you always have been able to do it, but I think you can even more do it now. Yeah. Just got a couple of questions coming up in the chat. Someone, Umesh said, I'm just going to quickly address these, and then we can get back to you, Mohammed. You can't dominate the whole question session.
Sorry,
Only joking. Umesh says, do we have to conduct quality check for a unit every time before delivery, even if it was checked last term? If you've got evidence that it was checked, no, you don't have to do it again, because you've already done that best practice, so you've got that. Post-assessment review evidence. Well, it could be. Umesh is asking. Kalpa's asking, would post-assessment review evidence be okay? I guess it depends on whether your tool actually does address, you know, a rigorous assessment. If some people sometimes do combined kind of pre and post assessment. So if it did address all those things, you know, performance criteria met, it could be okay.
Just a query there. Our tool wasn't called the review because the review is only coming in the new standard. So it was called the post-assessment validation tool, but it included the review of all principles of assessment and rules of evidence, everything in one.
Yeah, so it probably will be okay if it does the pre and the post together.
And if it was done in the last 1 year, would that be a good evidence to still keep?
Yeah. I mean, I think all of those things as well is a bit of a work in progress, isn't it? You know, how often do you have to do those assessment reviews? I guess you as an RTO really kind of need to work that. I saw a bit of conversation on LinkedIn today. Someone was talking about 2 years, but there's nothing in the standards that talks about that.
Because a big question that comes is when we say we have to do pre-review of all assessment tools starting with the new standards, July 2025, we get pushback there to say, oh my God, we've done all the post-assessment validations using that 5-year validation plan. Why do we need to just do it just for the sake of doing it now? And we've been using these tools over the last 2 or 3 years. It's well tested, continuously used, and post-validated. So why would we just do a review just for the sake of showing evidence that we've done?
I think if you've done it already and it can be clearly seen that you have, then, you know, that's okay.
Yeah.
Ramveer says, if I have 3 assessments in a unit, can I tweak the review form to include all 3 assessments in that one? So yeah, if it's Brooke answered that, saying, yeah, that's right. If it's a cluster, you could use the review form for just that cluster. But if it's a single unit, then you'd want to use the review form for each single unit.
Yeah, so Sally, on that point, if your tools are built in a cluster, you may be reviewing one unit, or you may be, if you've got 3 units in a cluster, you may decide to sample all 3 units against a tool, or you may decide to sample 1 unit against a tool. Because if you're validating the unit, is this performance criteria mapped? Well, it's question 3 in this clustered tool. Is this knowledge question mapped? It's question 1 in this clustered tool. So the same process applies.
And Nikki's just answering, asking a question about TAS. Is it if we offer the qualifications online only, that we have just 1 TAS per qual? I don't really see any need to have multiple TASs. You could just have 1 TAS as long as it clearly sets out, you know, if you're doing it face to face, it's delivered in this way. If you're doing it online, it's delivered in that way. Sometimes it can be confusing to have multiple TAS documents. Yeah.
Sally,
yes.
quick question. So Umesh has asked a question about do you have to do these checks every time before you deliver, even if it was just checked in the last term? And you know, my understanding is you don't. It is about it's an assessment review you do before you first deliver an assessment. But I guess people are in the position, Sally, where they may not have done these reviews in the past, and now this has become a very steadfast requirement under the revised standards for RTOs. So maybe how do people go about incorporating that? I mean, you don't have to do it every time before you deliver, do you, Sally?
Well, I mean, the standards say that you've got to review the assessments, so you have to do it at least once and have a plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, have a plan for that. So
yes.
we're kind of like running out of time, but
I think that probably is time. Is there any last question?
Mohammed had another question, didn't you, Mohammed? Oh, you're on mute.
I might ask you, actually, it will help maybe everyone in the. So when we conduct the post validation, then we check the assessment report done and dusted. Do we have to keep the evidence if it is pre-July assessments? Like, so let's say I did certificate 4 in kitchen management assessment. Now the student's assessment, the sample was from December 2024. Now we don't have any obligation to keep those assessments, but as a evidence of the validation tool, do we have to keep those assessment tools, Sally?
That's a very complicated question. I mean, you would. I mean, if you've got it all recorded in the tool, you know, strictly speaking, no. But yeah, you could get an auditor who's like, well, why wouldn't you have kept them? But yeah, so that's my kind of non-definitive answer to that question.
What my stand on this, Sally, maybe
Yeah, that would be helpful.
I don't keep them because it is already past that. Okay, I deleted or destroyed them. But from July onwards, we have to keep them.
Keep them for 2 years. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Thanks, Mohammed. Thank you.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're 12:02 now, so we might wrap up. But if anyone's got any more questions, feel free to give us a buzz. And thank you so much, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much,
everybody.
Thank you,
everyone. Have a good day.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.